This is your video on order of operations. With order of operations, many people use the acronym PEMDAS to know which order to do certain operations. When we have an expression with numbers and lots of operations, we have to do them in a certain order or we won't get the right answer. So, what we often talk about with PEMDAS, P, it stands for the parentheses. So if I have anything to do inside parentheses, I'm going to do that first. If I don't have any parentheses, or when I'm done with that step, I will then move on to exponents. So with exponents, again, if I don't have any, or once I'm finished, I then move on to multiplication or division from left to right. This is often a problem area for students because they think since the M comes before the D, I would multiply before I would divide. But that's not always true. You have to look at the expression from left to right, and whatever comes first, multiplication or division, that's what I do first. Same thing with addition and subtraction. It's not addition before subtraction, it's whatever comes first, left to right, and that's always my last step. All right, so let's look at some examples. So my first example has some multiplication and some addition. And so the first thing I'm going to do is do my multiplication because the multiplication comes before anything else with the addition or subtraction. Remember, when I don't have parentheses, there's nothing to do inside the parentheses, I move on to exponents. If I don't have any exponents, I move on to multiplication or division, left to right. So with this one, we do have multiplication. All right, so I'm going to underline the step that I'm going to change and bring everything else down, one step at a time. So negative 12 plus 6. Remember, you can pop that right into your TI-84 calculator if you're not sure what that is, and that is going to be 3 times negative 4. Hit enter, and you will get negative 12. You could also type it in using your parentheses, 3, open parentheses, negative 4, close parentheses, enter, and my calculator will still read it the same way. All right, so my last step is to add, so negative 12 plus 6 would give me negative 6, and I underline each little change that I make. It makes it nice for those bigger, complicated problems. All right, moving on to number 2. So this one has more steps with it. I'm going to start with my parentheses because this time I have something to do inside the parentheses. So first I'm going to add my 2 plus 6, which would give me 8. And at this point, because it's now a single number, I can drop the parentheses. You could also leave them there. It won't bother your calculator if you put it in that way. All right, my next step would be multiplication or division from left to right. Actually, I skipped exponents because I don't have any. So now multiplication, division, left to right. Well, I do have some division. It's the first thing that happens when I go left to right. All right, so 8 divided by 4 is 2. And I'm just going to simply bring down my plus 10. And finally, our last step. There's only one thing to do. We're going to add those together, and we get 12. And let's take a look at our third problem. So this time we have more than one thing to do inside those parentheses. So if that happens, remember, just follow PEMDAS inside the parentheses until you turn it into one single number. So inside the parentheses, I don't have parentheses, so I'm going to go on to exponents, which I do have one of those. Now in your TI-84 calculator, remember you can put your base in, 2. Here's my little caret button right above the division key. And then I'm going to put my exponent 3. And this is what it will look like in your calculator. You can see the base and the exponent. All right. And so that's going to give me 8. So again, I'm going to leave those parentheses there because right now I still have an operation to do inside the parentheses. All right, so now I'm going to finish that out. Last step, 8 plus 1 is going to give me 9. And everything else, I'm going to bring it down in the same order. Okay, the next part, 9 times 2. Remember, multiplication or division left to right would come before addition or subtraction. So 9 times 2 gives me 18. And then finally, I can subtract, and that will give me 12. Notice that I'm only making one little change in each step. I'm not making 2 changes within one step. All right, and then the last one we're going to take a look at is number 4. So with this one, I don't have any parentheses because there's nothing to do inside the parentheses. So I'm going to move on to exponents. Now be careful, this is negative 2 times whatever I get when I do 3 squared. So the only thing that the exponent is actually on is the 3. So 3 squared gives me 9, and everything else I'm just going to bring it down. Okay, next I'm going to do multiplication or division left to right. I'm done with my exponents. This is going to give me a negative 18. And everything else, I'm just going to bring it down. Notice I have two pieces where I'm multiplying, and I did them each. I'm going to do them each in their own step. Finish out with your multiplication. I'm going to leave that negative 18 right out front. Plus 12 minus 6. And then left to right, I'm going to do my addition and subtraction. So negative 18 plus 12 is going to give me negative 6. Bring down my minus 6. And finally, we can finish out with negative 6 minus 6, which is negative 12.